Welcome to Raven Reports, where we explore the darkest corners of human behavior through carefully crafted crime narratives. Tonight's story is She Brought Her Daughter to the Party and Didn't Notice Her Disappear. Before we begin, remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell to catch all our latest stories. Atmospheric music begins. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday. Cream-colored envelope, gold-embossed lettering, the kind of invitation that speaks of wealth and exclusivity. Emma Walsh held it between her fingers, admiring the weight of the cardstock, the elegant script announcing the annual Blackwood Estate Summer Gala. These invitations were coveted in the small coastal town of Harborview, sent only to those deemed worthy by Regina Blackwood herself. Emma hadn't expected to receive one, not after what happened last year. She slid her finger under the seal and pulled out the invitation. Her eyes scanned the formal text until they landed on one particular line: "Children welcome." Emma glanced across the living room where her daughter Lily was sprawled on the carpet, coloring with intense concentration, her blonde curls falling over her face. Lily had just turned 8, and Emma had been struggling to find a babysitter lately. "Maybe we'll go to a fancy party this weekend," Emma said, more to herself than to Lily. Lily looked up, blue eyes widening. "A real party? With cake and everything?" Emma smiled. "It's not that kind of party, sweetie. It's for grown-ups. But yes, there will probably be cake." The Blackwood Estate Summer Gala was the social event of the season in Harborview. Regina Blackwood, widow of the late real estate magnate Harold Blackwood, opened her sprawling oceanside mansion once a year to the town's elite. Doctors, lawyers, business owners, and local politicians would mingle under crystal chandeliers, sipping champagne and forming alliances that would shape the town's future. Emma had only attended once before, last year, when she was still married to David. He was the reason for the invitation. A successful surgeon whose skills had saved Regina's grandson after a serious boating accident. But David was gone now, moved across the country with his 24-year-old receptionist, leaving Emma to rebuild her life in a town where she'd always been viewed as merely Dr. Walsh's wife. She hadn't expected Regina to remember her. Yet here was the invitation, addressed to Ms. Emma Walsh and guest. Perhaps Regina felt sorry for her. Or perhaps she genuinely enjoyed Emma's company at last year's event, where they'd spent nearly an hour discussing Emma's work as a children's book illustrator. Emma set the invitation on the coffee table. She should go. Networking was essential now that she needed to support herself and Lily, and bringing Lily might actually work in her favor. Regina adored children, despite never having raised any of her own. "We're going," Emma decided. "And you're coming with me, little miss." Lily dropped her crayon. "Really? Do I get to wear a fancy dress?" "The fanciest," Emma promised. The next few days passed in a flurry of preparation. Emma couldn't afford a new dress, not with her illustration commissions barely covering the mortgage, but she unearthed a sleek black gown from the back of her closet. For Lily, she splurged on a pale blue dress that brought out her daughter's eyes and resembled something from a fairy tale. By Saturday evening, they were ready. Emma's chestnut hair was swept into an elegant updo, her makeup carefully applied to cover the tired circles beneath her eyes. Lily twirled in her new dress, already having added her own touch, a sparkly butterfly clip in her hair that didn't quite match but made her smile. "Remember the rules," Emma said as they got into the car. "Best behavior. Stay where I can see you. If you get tired, tell me immediately, and we'll find a quiet place to rest." "I know, Mom," Lily said, rolling her eyes with the exasperated confidence of a child who believes she's much older than her years. The Blackwood Estate stood on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic, a Victorian mansion with modern additions that somehow blended seamlessly. As Emma drove through the wrought iron gates and up the winding driveway, she felt a flutter of anxiety in her stomach. Cars lined the circular drive, Bentleys, Jaguars, and Mercedes that made her aging Honda look painfully out of place. "It's like a castle," Lily whispered as they approached the entrance, where 2 uniformed staff members were checking invitations. "Ms. Walsh, welcome," one of them said, consulting his list. "Mrs. Blackwood mentioned you would be bringing your daughter. Please, follow me." They were led through the grand foyer, where a magnificent crystal chandelier cast rainbows across marble floors. Emma felt the stares as they passed, curious, judgmental, pitying. The only other children she could see were teenagers, looking bored as they followed their parents. "Emma, you came!" Regina Blackwood materialized from the crowd, resplendent in emerald green, her silver hair perfectly coiffed. Despite being in her 70s, she moved with the energy of someone decades younger. And this must be Lily. What a beautiful child. Lily, suddenly shy, pressed against Emma's side. Thank you for including us, Emma said. It was very kind of you to think of me. Regina waved away the gratitude. Nonsense. I enjoyed our conversation last year. You were the only person who didn't spend the evening trying to get something from me. Her sharp eyes softened as she looked at Lily. There are refreshments for children in the conservatory. Amanda can show you the way. She beckoned to a young woman in a black dress, clearly part of the house staff. This is Lily Walsh. Please make sure she has whatever she needs in the children's area. Emma hesitated. Actually, I'd prefer to keep Lily with me. Oh? Regina raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. I thought you might appreciate some adult conversation. The children's area is quite secure, with supervision. Several of my staff have childcare experience. Emma felt a flush of embarrassment. She didn't want to seem overprotective, especially in front of Regina. And looking around, she could see that networking would be difficult with an 8-year-old in tow. It's okay, Mom, Lily said, her initial shyness fading at the prospect of a special area just for kids. I'll be good. Emma knelt down to Lily's level. If you need anything, ask someone to find me immediately. I'll check on you in 1 hour, okay? Okay. Lily was already eyeing the direction Amanda was pointing. There are only 3 other children tonight, Regina said as Amanda led Lily away. My grandson Jacob and the Miller's twins, all around Lily's age. Now come with me. There are several people you simply must meet. What followed was a whirlwind of introductions. A publisher looking for a new illustrator for a children's book series. The owner of a gallery interested in showcasing local artists. A wealthy couple who commissioned custom artwork for each of their vacation homes. Emma found herself engaged in the most promising professional conversation she'd had in months, all orchestrated by Regina. She checked her watch frequently at first, but as the evening progressed and the champagne flowed, the minutes slipped by. 1 hour became 2. Each time she mentioned checking on Lily, Regina introduced her to someone else absolutely essential to meet. She's fine, dear, Regina assured her after the 3rd time Emma glanced at her watch. Amanda would inform us if there were any issues. It was nearly 10 o'clock when Emma finally extracted herself from a conversation with a literary agent. I really must check on my daughter now, she said firmly. Regina, who had remained by her side for much of the evening, nodded. Of course, the children should be getting tired by now anyway. The conservatory is through the main hall, past the library. Emma made her way through the crowd, accepting a final glass of champagne from a passing waiter. The evening had been unexpectedly successful. She had 3 solid leads for new work, 2 business cards from potential clients, and a promise from the gallery owner to review her portfolio. For the first time in months, she felt like her career might actually survive the divorce. The main hall was quieter, the sounds of the party fading behind her. Emma passed the library, where a few guests were engaged in more intimate conversation, and continued toward the glass doors of the conservatory. The space was magical, a Victorian glass house filled with exotic plants, small fountains, and delicate fairy lights strung among the greenery. A table held the remains of a child-friendly buffet, small sandwiches, fruit, cupcakes, and juice. But the conservatory was empty. Lily? Emma called, setting down her champagne glass. Lily, it's time to go. No answer. She moved further into the space, checking behind large potted plants and ornamental benches. Lily, this isn't funny, sweetheart. A young woman appeared at the door. Not Amanda, but another staff member in the same black dress. Can I help you, ma'am? I'm looking for my daughter, Emma said, trying to keep the growing edge of panic from her voice. Blonde hair, blue dress. She was supposed to be in here with the other children. Oh, the children were moved to the game room about an hour ago, the woman said. The conservatory gets chilly in the evening. If you'll follow me? Relief washed over Emma. Of course, they'd simply moved to another location. She followed the staff member down a corridor and up a flight of stairs to a large room filled with everything a child could want. Video games, a pool table, board games, even a small movie screening area. 3 children were there. A boy who looked about 9 and identical twin girls a bit older. They were watching a movie, supervised by an older woman who was knitting in the corner. There was no sign of Lily. Where is my daughter? Emma asked, her voice sharper now. The supervisor looked up, confused. I only brought these 3 up from the conservatory. There was no blonde girl in a blue dress. The panic Emma had been suppressing surged through her. She was in the conservatory, with Amanda. Amanda? The supervisor frowned. We don't have anyone by that name on staff tonight. Emma's heart began to race. Regina Blackwood introduced her. Young woman, black dress like yours. The supervisor and the staff member who had led Emma to the game room exchanged glances. All house staff are wearing black tonight, but there's no Amanda working here, the staff member said. Let me call Mrs. Blackwood. Emma didn't wait. She rushed back downstairs, no longer caring about decorum, as she pushed through groups of chatting guests. Lily, she called, earning disapproving looks. Lily! She found Regina in the main ballroom, deep in conversation with the town's mayor. Regina? I can't find Lily, Emma interrupted, breathless. She's not in the conservatory or the game room. Regina's perfect composure faltered for just a moment. What do you mean, dear? Amanda was supposed to... There is no Amanda on your staff, Emma said. I need to find my daughter now. Regina's face paled. She turned to the mayor. Excuse us, this is an emergency. Then, to the nearest staff member. Security Protocol 3. Now, what happened next was a blur. Security personnel materialized throughout the mansion. Guests were asked to remain in the main hall while the entire property was searched. Emma stood in the center of it all, her mind racing through terrible possibilities. Had Lily wandered off? The estate was enormous, with countless rooms, staircases and corridors where a curious 8-year-old could get lost. But Lily had always been good about staying where she was told. And who was the woman calling herself Amanda? We're reviewing the security camera footage, Regina told her, 30 minutes into the search. The party had effectively ended, though guests remained, now watching the drama unfold with poorly disguised fascination. I have cameras at every entrance and in all the main areas. Emma barely heard her. She was calling Lily's name, moving from room to room despite security's requests that she stay in one place. She checked closets, bathrooms, under tables, anywhere a child might hide. When the head of security approached them, his expression was grim. Mrs. Blackwood, Ms. Walsh, we have footage of a woman leading a girl matching Lily's description out through the kitchen entrance at 8:42 p.m. The woman is not a staff member. Emma's knees buckled. Regina caught her arm, supporting her with surprising strength. Show us, Regina demanded. In the security office, they watched the grainy footage. A woman in a black dress, similar enough to the staff uniform to avoid suspicion, led Lily by the hand through the kitchen and out a side door. Lily wasn't struggling or crying. She went willingly, even skipping a little, as if she knew and trusted the woman. I'll call the police, the security head said, already reaching for the phone. Use my private line to Chief Patterson, Regina instructed. Tell him to come immediately and to bring his best officers. Emma couldn't tear her eyes from the screen, from the last image of her daughter disappearing through that door. Who is she? Why would she take Lily? Her voice sounded distant, as if it belonged to someone else. Regina was studying the footage, her eyes narrowed. Can you enhance this? She asked the security officer. Focus on her face. The image zoomed in, becoming even grainier. The woman had kept her head angled away from the cameras, but for a brief moment she'd turned slightly. Regina inhaled sharply. I know her. Emma's head snapped up. What? Who is she? Before Regina could answer, there was a commotion outside the security office. A man's voice, angry and insistent. The door burst open, and David Walsh stood there, his face flushed with rage. Where is my daughter? He demanded. Emma stared at her ex-husband in shock. David, what are you doing here? I received a text message from Lily's phone 2 hours ago, he said, holding up his smartphone. It said she was at the Blackwood estate and needed me to pick her up urgently, that you were drunk and ignoring her. That's impossible, Emma whispered. Lily doesn't have a phone. The police arrived minutes later, led by Chief Patterson himself. The Blackwood estate was quickly transformed into a command center for a missing child investigation. Guests were interviewed and released. Staff were questioned extensively. The security footage was downloaded and enhanced by police technicians. Emma sat in Regina's study, answering the same questions over and over. When was the last time she saw Lily? Who knew they would be at the party? Did Lily have any distinctive marks or features? Was there anyone who might want to harm Emma or David? We think this was targeted, Chief Patterson said finally. The woman knew your daughter's name, knew she would be here, and knew how to contact your ex-husband. This wasn't a random abduction. David paced the room, having shed his initial anger in favor of cold, focused determination. That woman on the video, he said. Mrs. Blackwood recognized her. All eyes turned to Regina, who had remained in the room despite offers from the police to question her elsewhere. She looked suddenly older, the elegant hostess replaced by a tired old woman. Her name is Vanessa Grant, Regina said. She was my personal assistant for 5 years until I discovered she was embezzling from me last winter. I pressed charges. She's awaiting trial. And you didn't think to mention this woman might hold a grudge when you invited us to a party where my daughter would be present? Emma's voice rose, edged with hysteria. Vanessa was released on bail, but she's been forbidden from coming anywhere near this property, Regina said. I never imagined she would dare, and I certainly never connected her to you. Well, she clearly connected herself to us. David snapped. Why would she take our daughter? Chief Patterson interrupted, his phone buzzing. He answered, listened, then looked at them all. We've located Vanessa Grant's apartment in town. It's empty, but neighbors say they saw her loading suitcases into her car this morning. So she planned this, Emma said, her voice hollow. She planned to take Lily. We've put out an APB on her vehicle and alerted state police and the FBI, Patterson assured them. All borders and airports are being watched. We will find her. But as the hours ticked by, there was no sign of Vanessa Grant or Lily Walsh. Emma sat rigid on Regina's brocade sofa, still in her evening gown, unable to process that just hours ago. Her biggest concern had been making a good impression at a party. David continued to pace, making calls to his contacts in the medical community, reaching out to anyone who might be able to help. Regina worked with the police, providing everything she knew about Vanessa, her background, her habits, the names of her friends and family. It was nearly dawn when Emma's phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. She answered immediately, putting it on speaker. Mom? Lily's voice, small and frightened. Emma's heart stopped. Lily, baby, where are you? Are you okay? She says I have to read this exactly, Lily said, clearly reciting. No police or Lily gets hurt. David lunged for the phone. Lily, it's Dad. We're going to find you, sweetheart. Time's up, an adult female voice said in the background. Then the line went dead. Chief Patterson, who had been recording the call, immediately began tracing it. Keep them on the line longer if they call back, he instructed. We need at least 30 seconds for a trace. But no call came. Instead, a text message arrived on Emma's phone. $1 million by midnight tomorrow. Instructions to follow. Tell the police and she dies. The demand was impossible. Emma had less than $10,000 in savings. David, despite his successful practice, had recently invested heavily in a new surgical center that had left him cash poor. We'll get the money, Regina said firmly when Emma showed her the message. I can liquidate assets by this afternoon. No, Chief Patterson interjected. We don't negotiate with kidnappers, and we don't have any proof that paying will result in Lily's safe return. This is my fault, Regina said. Vanessa is doing this to get back at me, using an innocent child. I will pay. The FBI arrived mid-morning, a team specializing in child abductions. They took over Regina's dining room, setting up computers and communication equipment. Emma was interviewed again, this time by a gentle-voiced agent who specialized in supporting parents of missing children. Tell me about Lily, the agent, Monica Reeves, said. Not just what she looks like, but who she is. What makes her unique? Through tears, Emma described her daughter. Creative, stubborn, fiercely independent despite her young age. How she could spend hours lost in her own imagination. How she loved animals but was terrified of thunderstorms. How she'd been struggling since David left, becoming more withdrawn, more anxious about being separated from Emma. She wouldn't have gone willingly with a stranger, Emma insisted. She must have believed this woman worked for Mrs. Blackwood. Agent Reeves nodded. Children can be manipulated by adults they perceive as authority figures. Vanessa would have known exactly what to say to gain Lily's trust. Meanwhile, the technical team had made a breakthrough with Vanessa's phone. Though they couldn't track its current location, they'd identified several locations where it had been used in the past few weeks. She visited this area multiple times. The tech analyst showed them on a map. It's an abandoned summer camp about 40 miles north of here. The property was foreclosed on last year and hasn't been resold. That's Camp Silverpine, Regina said immediately. Harold owned it years ago before we married. He sold it to a developer who wanted to turn it into a resort, but the project fell through. Vanessa would have known about it from handling your late husband's papers, Chief Patterson realized. A tactical team was assembled and dispatched to the camp, with David insisting on accompanying them. Emma wanted to go too, but Agent Reeves gently convinced her to stay behind. If Lily is found, she'll need you to be here, calm and ready to support her, she explained. The wait was excruciating. Emma sat in Regina's sunroom, staring out at the ocean, the beauty of the view lost on her. Regina brought her tea she couldn't drink and food she couldn't eat. I never should have let her out of my sight, Emma whispered. Regina sat beside her, her usual commanding presence subdued. "When my grandson nearly died in that boating accident, I blamed myself," she said quietly. "I had arranged the sailing trip. I had hired the instructor who failed to secure his life vest properly. For months I tortured myself with what-ifs." "What changed?" Emma asked. "Nothing changed. I simply realized that blame doesn't help. Action helps. Solutions help." Regina took Emma's cold hand in her warm one. "We will find Lily, and when we do, blame won't matter anymore." The call came 3 hours later. The tactical team had found the camp deserted, but there was evidence someone had been there recently. Food wrappers, a child's hair ribbon, blue matching Lily's dress, and tire tracks leading away. "They're continuing to search the surrounding area," Agent Reeves told them, "and we've expanded the roadblocks." But Emma could see in her eyes that hope was fading. Each hour that passed made it less likely they would find Lily unharmed. Each hour increased the chance that Vanessa would panic, dispose of the child who could identify her, and flee. The ransom demand came again that evening, another text with detailed instructions. The money was to be left at midnight in a specific location in Harborview Park. No marked bills, no tracking devices, no police presence. "It's a public park. She'll be able to see if we have officers in place," Chief Patterson said. "But we can position people at a distance, use thermal imaging." "We do exactly as she says," Regina insisted. "I have the money ready. And if she doesn't return Lily?" David demanded, having returned from the camp search, exhausted and disheveled. No one had an answer. As midnight approached, a plan was put in place. Regina would deliver the money herself, a decision she made over everyone's objections. "Vanessa will expect me," she said. "She wants to punish me, not these parents. Let her see me, focus on me." Emma and David would wait at Regina's estate with most of the law enforcement team. A small elite unit would be positioned around the park out of sight. The money, actual cash as demanded, was placed in a designer handbag that contained a passive tracker, undetectable by standard scanning devices. "Be careful," Emma told Regina as the older woman prepared to leave. Regina's spine straightened, her chin lifted. "I have faced down corporate raiders, corrupt politicians, and my late husband's greedy relatives. I can handle one bitter ex-employee." The minutes ticked by agonizingly slow after Regina departed. Emma and David sat side by side in Regina's study, not speaking, united only by their shared terror for their daughter. Agent Reeves stayed with them, her calm presence a small comfort. At precisely 12:03 a.m., Regina's voice came through the communication system. "The money has been placed as instructed. I'm returning to my vehicle." For several minutes, nothing happened. The park remained still, monitored by thermal cameras that showed no movement except for Regina walking back to her car. Then, at 12:17 a.m., a heat signature appeared, moving quickly toward the drop site. The figure grabbed the bag and began to retreat. "Subject has the package," a tactical officer reported, "moving northeast through the park. Hold positions," the FBI commander ordered. "Let the subject lead us back to the child." They watched on the monitors as the figure, presumably Vanessa, moved through the park, eventually reaching a sedan parked on a side street. The car pulled away, and a police helicopter tracked it from a distance as it headed north out of town. "She's going back to the camp," David said. "She must have Lily hidden somewhere nearby." But the car took an unexpected turn, heading east instead. The helicopter followed, reporting its movements. Subject vehicle now traveling on Highway 14, heading toward the state line. Emma gripped the edge of the desk, her knuckles white. "Is Lily in the car? Can they tell?" "Heat signatures suggest only one occupant," the tactical officer said. "But the child could be in the trunk." The car continued east for 20 minutes, then suddenly pulled off the highway onto a service road. The helicopter reported that the driver had stopped and exited the vehicle, moving into the surrounding woods with the bag of money. "We're losing visual," the pilot reported. "Dense tree cover. Move in ground units," the FBI commander ordered. "Do not lose the subject." What followed was a chaotic sequence of reports from various units converging on the area. Emma and David could only listen, helpless, as officers pursued Vanessa Grant through the woods. "Subject spotted, moving northeast. Lost visual, checking eastern perimeter. Thermal has something. Wait, it's just a deer. Check the vehicle. Repeat, check the vehicle for the child." Then suddenly, "Subject apprehended. Repeat, we have Vanessa Grant in custody." Emma leapt to her feet. "And Lily? Do they have Lily?" There was no answer for several long seconds. Then, No sign of the child. Subject refuses to speak without a lawyer. Emma felt the room spin. David caught her as her knees gave way. "Where is she?" He shouted at the communication system as if Vanessa could hear him. "Where's our daughter?" Agent Reeves was already on her phone, coordinating with the team on the ground. "They're bringing Grant in for questioning. The money's been recovered. They're searching the area with dogs." But Emma knew, with a mother's terrible intuition, that Lily wasn't there. Vanessa had separated herself from Lily before going to collect the ransom, a precaution in case she was caught. The FBI interrogated Vanessa Grant for hours, but she maintained her silence, demanding a lawyer, refusing to reveal Lily's location. Searches of her apartment, her car, her computer revealed nothing. It was as if Lily had vanished into thin air. 3 days passed. The media coverage was intense. Lily's face appeared on every news broadcast, every newspaper, every social media platform. Volunteers joined the search, combing the woods, beaches, and abandoned buildings around Harborview. Emma moved through it all like a ghost, sleeping only when her body collapsed from exhaustion, eating only when David or Agent Reeves placed food in front of her and stood over her until she took a bite. Regina Blackwood remained by her side, using her considerable influence to keep the investigation a priority, to bring in specialized search teams, to offer an additional reward for information. On the 4th day, as Emma sat in the FBI's temporary headquarters, now moved from Regina's estate to the local police station, her phone rang. Another unknown number. "Hello?" She answered, her voice raw from crying. "Is this Emma Walsh?" An unfamiliar male voice asked. "Yes," she whispered, as every head in the room turned toward her. Agent Reeves was already recording the call, signaling for a trace. "My name is Marcus Delaney. I'm a fisherman out of Portsmouth." I think I found your daughter." Emma's heart stopped. Is she alive?" "Yes, ma'am, she's right here. Pretty cold and scared, but alive." A sound escaped Emma, half sob, half laugh. "Let me talk to her, please." "Mom?" Lily's voice, weak but unmistakable. "Mom, I want to come home. Baby, where are you? What happened?" But Marcus took the phone back. "We're on my boat, about 2 miles offshore. Found her clinging to a piece of driftwood. Says she was on another boat that sank. I've called the Coast Guard. They're on their way to escort us in." The next hour was a blur of activity. The Coast Guard confirmed they had made contact with Delaney's fishing vessel and were bringing them into Portsmouth Harbor, about 30 miles up the coast from Harborview. An ambulance was dispatched to meet them. Emma and David raced to Portsmouth in a police cruiser, sirens blaring. By the time they reached the harbor, a small crowd had gathered. News traveled fast in coastal communities. Emma pushed through them, David at her heels, until they reached the dock where the Coast Guard vessel was just pulling in. And there was Lily, wrapped in a silver thermal blanket, her blonde hair tangled with seawater, her face pale but intact. She looked up, saw her parents, and burst into tears. Emma gathered her daughter into her arms, feeling the solid reality of her, alive and whole. David enveloped them both, his doctor's hands already checking Lily for injuries, even as tears streamed down his face. The paramedics insisted on taking Lily to the hospital for evaluation. Emma rode in the ambulance, never letting go of her daughter's hand. David followed in the police cruiser, along with Agent Reeves, who gently explained that they would need to question Lily when the doctors gave permission. At the hospital, Lily was examined thoroughly. Apart from mild hypothermia, dehydration, and some cuts and bruises, she was physically unharmed. The psychological trauma would take longer to assess. When the doctors finally allowed it, Agent Reeves came into Lily's hospital room, where Emma and David sat on either side of their daughter's bed. She spoke gently, asking Lily if she felt strong enough to tell them what happened. Lily nodded, her small hand gripping Emma's. "The lady said she worked for Mrs. Blackwood," she began. "She said you sent her to take me to another room where they had special desserts for kids. You didn't do anything wrong, sweetheart," Emma assured her. "She tricked you." Lily continued, describing how the woman, Vanessa, had led her through the kitchen and out to a car. "She said we were going to surprise you, that you'd meet us there." "Where did she take you?" Agent Reeves asked. "To a camp with lots of little houses. She made me stay in one and locked the door." Lily's voice trembled. "She took my hair ribbon and made me call you on her phone. She said she'd hurt me if I didn't say exactly what she told me to." Emma closed her eyes, feeling physically ill at the thought of her daughter's fear. "Then yesterday, she put me in a different car with a man," Lily continued. She said he was taking me back to you, but he didn't. He took me to a boat. This was new information. There was another person involved? Agent Reeves asked, suddenly alert. Lily nodded. He didn't talk much. He took the boat really far out on the ocean. Then She hesitated, looking confused. He told me to put on a life jacket and hold on to a big piece of wood. He pushed me into the water and said someone would find me. He deliberately put you in the water? David asked, horrified. He said the police were coming and this was my only chance. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I was in the water all night. I was so cold. Emma held her daughter closer, unable to comprehend the cruelty, and yet the strange mercy of this unknown accomplice. He hadn't killed Lily, as he presumably had been instructed to do. Instead, he'd given her a slim chance at survival, a chance that, miraculously, had paid off when Marcus Delaney's fishing boat had spotted her at dawn. In the days that followed, the full story emerged. Vanessa Grant had indeed planned the kidnapping as revenge against Regina Blackwood. She had hired an ex-convict named Thomas Mercer to dispose of Lily after the ransom was collected, making her body disappear at sea. But Mercer, according to his eventual confession, couldn't go through with murdering a child. I've done a lot of bad things, he told investigators, but not that, never that. Instead, he'd given Lily a life jacket and a fighting chance, then scuttled the boat to destroy evidence, telling Vanessa that the job was done. It was only when he saw the news reports that Lily had been found alive that he turned himself in, offering testimony against Vanessa in exchange for leniency. Vanessa Grant was charged with kidnapping, extortion, and conspiracy to commit murder. She would spend decades in prison. Thomas Mercer received a reduced sentence in exchange for his cooperation and the decision that ultimately saved Lily's life. For Emma and Lily, the road to recovery was long. Lily suffered nightmares, separation anxiety, and a new fear of water that would require therapy to overcome. Emma blamed herself endlessly, replaying every moment of that night at the Blackwood estate, torturing herself with what-ifs. Regina Blackwood, true to her word about action being more helpful than blame, established a foundation in Lily's name to support child safety initiatives and train law enforcement in responding to abductions. She also paid for Lily's therapy and set up a college fund for her. David, shaken by how close he had come to losing his daughter, reconsidered his cross-country move. He found a position at a hospital just 30 minutes from Harborview, allowing him to be part of Lily's life again. And Emma learned to forgive herself, slowly, with the help of a support group for parents of recovered missing children. She discovered that her experience, though traumatic, could help other families navigating similar nightmares. 6 months after the kidnapping, Emma took Lily back to the ocean for the first time. They stood together on the beach, hand in hand, watching the waves that had both nearly taken Lily's life and, paradoxically, returned her to safety. "Are you scared?" Emma asked her daughter. Lily considered the question, her face serious beyond her years. "A little," she admitted, "but the water didn't hurt me. It kept me floating until that nice fisherman found me." Emma squeezed her hand. "That's a brave way to think about it." Lily looked up at her mother. "The lady who took me was very mad at Mrs. Blackwood, wasn't she?" "Not at me." "Yes," Emma said carefully, still amazed at how children could sometimes see through to the heart of adult complications. "She did a terrible thing because she was angry and wanted revenge." "I'm not angry anymore," Lily declared. "My therapist says being angry is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick." Emma smiled, tears springing to her eyes. "That's very wise, sweetheart." Lily tugged her hand, pulling her toward the water's edge. "Can we put our feet in? Just a little?" It was a small step, literally and figuratively, but an important one. Emma kicked off her sandals and followed her daughter to where the gentle waves lapped at the shore. The water was cold, but Lily didn't flinch, just giggled as the sand shifted beneath her toes. Emma watched her daughter's face, saw the fear there but also the determination to overcome it. In that moment, she made a promise to herself. She would never again let fear of judgment or the desire to impress others override her instincts as a mother. She would never again lose sight of what truly mattered. "I love you, Lily," she said, her voice nearly lost in the sound of the waves. But Lily heard her. She always did. "I love you too, Mom," she said, splashing water with her foot. "Even when you don't notice me disappear." Emma's breath caught, but then she saw the mischievous smile on her daughter's face. Somehow, impossibly, Lily had found a way to joke about the most terrifying experience of their lives. And if Lily could find that strength, that resilience, then Emma could too. Together they walked along the edge of the ocean that had nearly separated them forever, leaving two sets of footprints in the wet sand, one large, one small, side by side, never again to be parted. Atmospheric music fades. That was, she brought her daughter to the party and didn't notice her disappear. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share with friends who appreciate suspenseful narratives. Don't forget to hit that notification bell to catch all our latest uploads. This is Raven Reports, where we explore the darkness so you don't have to. Until next time, sleep well, if you can.